Hi everybody, my name is Caden.
I'm Jaden.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Eli.
And I'm Jason.
And we're the Hulu Tour YouTube channel.
And we thank you guys very, very much for spending a little bit of time here. And we are going to go over some stuff today because there is a lot of questions. There's always been a lot of questions on when does a day start? When does a Hebrew day start? And we all know as a day starts, when the alarm goes off at 6 o'clock in the morning, you rise up, you go have some eggs, and the day begins. But our Creator has said there's certain times. And when we are to keep a Shabbat, we are supposed to keep it at a certain time. Now, we need to figure out when that time is. Is it morning to morning, or is it sunset to sunset? Now, I'd like to take us over to a gal that comments on our channel here. Her name is Brenda Lee. And she was talking about, she believes that it is sunset to sunset. And
no, sunrise.
Sunrise to sunrise, sorry. I'm so brainwashed. I am brainwashed. I know it as it should be. Now, she says it is from sunrise to sunrise. And I said, why do you believe this? And she says this is what it is. She says, I believe from the Genesis account and according to Yahuwah, a new day begins at dawn or sunrise. All over the Bible, it talks about a new day dawning. That would be sunrise. So her scriptures to consider are right here. First one is Exodus 16:22. Who has that?
Exodus 16:22.
I have 16:22.
Okay, Eli, read this 16:22, and you're reading it out of what?
The NIV.
The NIV, okay.
On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much, 2 omers for each person, and the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses.
Okay, so it says what? They got 2...
So it's about the manna.
Right. Now I got it.
On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much, 2 omers for each person, and the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses.
It says nothing about sunrise.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about sunrise on that. Okay, how about the next one? Exodus 18:13. Who has that?
I got 18:13.
Okay, what do you got?
It says, it came to be on the next day that Moshe sat to rightly rule the people, and the people stood before Moshe from morning until evening.
Okay, so hold on.
I mean, they wouldn't be in the dark doing this.
One more time. So it says what?
And it came to be on the next day that Moshe sat to rightly rule the people, and the people stood before Moshe from morning until evening.
Right.
So I don't think
the people
judged during nighttime.
He would be sleeping at night, so
Right.
he's not going to be judged.
He probably gets up in the morning, starts judging them, and then goes till evening.
Right. Was there any other context? Is this talk about a Shabbat or something?
No. This is when he's judging the people, and his father-in-law is like, "Hey man, you need to separate this down because there's too many. You're gonna wear yourself out."
Yeah, you're not going to judge people at night.
It's dark.
It is dark.
Must be
Okay,
sleeping.
that doesn't. I'm not convinced yet. Okay, Exodus 32:5 and 6. Kate.
And Aaron saw and built an altar before it, and Aaron called out and said, tomorrow is the festival of Yahuwah. And they rose early on the next day and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings, and the people rose up to eat and drink and rose up to play.
So again, I don't think they'd be
They're
sacrificed in the nighttime.
Well, hold on. What is the context of this one? Of
This
Exodus
is when
32?
Aaron, after they left Egypt, Aaron makes the golden calf. This is where they start making things. They rose up to play, and they made the golden calf, and they started worshiping the calf.
Okay, so is there anything about Shabbat? Go read that one more time slowly.
And Aaron saw it and built an altar before it. And Aaron called out and said, tomorrow is a festival of Yahuwah. And they rose up early on the next day and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play.
Just because it says early the next day.
Yeah, early
That's
the
why
next
she
day. Yeah,
thinks
and
it's
again,
sunrise.
unless
I don't think they'd be building the golden calf in the nighttime.
it's dark.
You can't
It's
see.
dark at night. Yeah, it's really dark at night. So I'm not convinced of this either. Let's go into 1 Samuel 9:19 is one. Jay, do you want to get Lamentations?
I got 1 Samuel.
You got 1 Samuel?
Yep.
Jaden, get Lamentations 3:22. Cade, get Matthew 28:1.
Alright.
And what are you reading, Eli?
1 Samuel 9:19.
Okay, let's do it. Through 26.
Through 26. Okay.
Yes.
I am the seer, Samuel replied. Go up ahead of me to the high place, for a day you are to eat with me, and in the morning I will send you on your way, and will tell you all that is in your heart. As for the donkeys you lost 3 days ago, do not worry about them. They have been found, and to whom is all the desire of Israel turned, if not to you and your whole family line. Saul answered, But am I not a Benjamite from the smallest tribe of Israel, and is not my clan the least of all the clans of the tribe of Benjamin? Why do you say such a thing to me? Then Samuel brought Saul and his servant into the hall, and seated them at the head of those who were invited, about 30 in number. Samuel said to the cook, Bring the piece of meat I gave you, the one I told you to lay aside. So the cook took up the thigh which was on it, and set it in front of Saul. Samuel said, Here is what has been kept for you. Eat, because it was set aside for you for this occasion from the time I said, I invited guests. And Saul dined with Samuel that day. After they came from the high place of the town, Samuel talked with Saul on the roof of the house. They rose about daybreak, and Samuel called to Saul on the roof, "Get ready, I will send you on your way." When Saul got ready, he and Samuel went outside together.
So again,
Does this
they're
have
going-
anything to do with Shabbat though? On this?
No, but she's talking about why she thinks the day begins at sunrise.
Well, I mean,
Because it says
I mean,
daybreak and
it's
it
not-
says
it's not
morning. But that doesn't mean
the day begins at sunrise, but our Yah's day
The
begins
new
the day,
number of the day begins at night.
the night before. Okay, so that I'm not convinced of any of this so far.
You said Lamentations 3:22.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lamentations 3:22.
The kindness of Yahuwah, for we have not been consumed, for his compassions have not ended.
Huh? I'm not. This is. Are you sure? It says,
Maybe 23.
try that one.
They are new every morning. Great is your trustworthiness.
Okay, so
I
it's
think it's a song.
3:23?
He's like, this is some song. Yes.
Okay, so what does
3:23.
it say then about the new morning?
They are new every morning. Great is your trustworthiness.
okay. Well, morning doesn't mean that's when the
Yeah,
day
I mean
begins.
the sun comes up. Thomas, the sun comes up in the morning. Yeah. So okay, I'm not convinced. Okay, what do you got, Kate?
All right, it's 28:1. Matthew
Yeah,
28:1.
Matthew 28:1.
Now, after the Shabbat, toward the dawn, one of the Shabbath, Miriam from Magdala and the other Miriam came to see the tomb. So this is after Yahusha died, and after the Shabbat, right? They're not allowed to leave the gates to go to where they want. They're not allowed to carry stuff out. That would be considered working. So on the morning, because it's dark, they're not going to go out and see the tomb at dark. I mean, that's probably a creepy thing to go out to a little tomb, and when it's dark,
It is creepy.
that's going to be a very just creepy thing. So they're going to go into sunrise, right? They're going to go see it. They're going to go make sure everything's all right. They're going to go take care of their Messiah's
So
body.
hold on here. Where is there? Are we missing something? 28:1. Read that slowly one more time.
Now, after the Shabbat,
After the Shabbat, okay, it says after the Shabbat. So we would assume that since it said after the Shabbat, that it's over, right? It says after
Right.
the Shabbat, right? Okay, so let's go from there.
Now, after the Shabbat, toward the dawn of one of the Shabbath. So this is toward the morning of the
first day.
Of the first day. Miriam from Magdala and the other Miriam came to see the tomb.
So it says dawn on one of the Shavuot.
Shabbath.
So
Shabbath.
what do we have with that?
So
What
it's
is,
like, it's like because we're in feast time right now, right? Yahusha died on the Pesach,
Right.
and this is 3 days later. So this is around the Shabbath time.
okay. So it says after the Sabbath, and then it talks about the next day, right?
Yeah, they probably went to bed, and they probably had a plan after that. Like, we're gonna go see the tomb in the morning, because that's what the plan was.
So
right
after
here.
Shabbat would, if as we know Shabbat, it would be at sunset, and that would be after Shabbat. So
Right.
that would be the next day. So we'd be talking about first day, right?
Right. First day.
Okay. All right. What else we got?
Mark 16:2.
Okay. What do you got?
Very early on the first day of the week, just after sunrise, they were on their way to the tomb.
Okay. So I mean that basically says it
went
says
out on
first
the-
day, right?
Yep, very early on the first day of the week,
First day of the week is
Just-
Sunday. Or
just-
well, it's not.
I mean,
just
it's-
after sunrise.
Just after sunrise.
They went when the light came out. Cool.
Okay, yeah, so I'm not convinced anywhere here. So we're going to read through the rest of hers, and then we're going to go into some of our own scriptures here. So this is what she has. Everyone bear with me. It says Jubilees chapter 2. And he finished all his work on the sixth day, and all that is in the heavens and on the earth, and in the seas and in the abyss, and in the light and in the darkness, and in everything. And he gave us a great sign, the Sabbath day, that we should work 6 days, but keep Sabbath on the seventh day from all work. And all the angels of the presence and all the angels of sanctification, these two great classes he hath bidden us to keep the Sabbath with him in heaven and on earth. And he said unto us, Behold, I will separate unto myself a people from among all the peoples, and these shall keep the Sabbath day, and I will sanctify them unto myself as my people, and I will bless them. As I have sanctified the Sabbath day, and do sanctify it unto myself, even so I will bless them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their Elohim. And I have chosen the seed of Jacob from amongst all that I have seen, and have written him down as my firstborn son, and have sanctified him unto myself forever and ever, and I will teach them the Sabbath day, that they may keep Sabbath thereon from all work. Okay, is that something she's saying there? Is that because it says
didn't
Sabbath day?
Say anything about
The time.
All right, let's continue on. And thus he created therein a sign in accordance that with which they should keep Sabbath with us on the seventh day, to eat and to drink and to bless him who has created all things, as he has blessed and sanctified unto himself a peculiar people above all peoples, then that they should keep the Sabbath together with us. And he caused his commands to ascend as a sweet savor acceptable before him all the days. There were 22 heads of mankind from Adam to Jacob, and 22 kinds of work were made until the seventh day. This is blessed and holy, and the former also is blessed and holy, and this one serves with that one for sanctification and blessing. And to this, Jacob and his seed, it was granted that they should always be blessed and holy ones of the first testimony and law, even as he sanctified and blessed the Sabbath day on the seventh day. Okay? He created heaven and earth and everything that he created in 6 days. And Yah made the seventh day holy for all his works. Therefore he commanded on its behalf that whoever does any work therein shall die, and that he who defiles it shall surely die. Wherefore do thou command the children of Israel to observe this day, that they may keep it holy, and not do thereon any work, and not defile it, as it is holier than all other days. And whoever profanes it shall surely die. And whoever does thereon any work shall surely die eternally, that the children of Israel may observe the day throughout their generations, and not be rooted out of the land, for it is a holy day and a blessed day. And everyone who observes it and keeps Sabbath thereon from all his work, and be holy and blessed throughout all days, like unto us, declare and say to the children of Israel and the law of this day, both that they should keep the Sabbath thereon, and that they should not forsake it in the error of their hearts, and that it is not lawful to do any work thereon, which is unseemly, to do thereon their own pleasure, and that they should not prepare thereon anything to be eaten or drunk, that is not lawful to draw water, or to bring in or take out thereon through their gates any burden which they had not prepared for themselves on the 6th day in their dwellings. Okay. I don't see anything here.
There's no time.
There's no time. All right, so let's get into some scriptures. And Nicole, you start and assign the boys what they want to read. Who has what first? And I will
have the first one.
Okay,
Genesis 1:5.
Genesis 1:5. All right, so let's take a quick look here, and let's see what we are able to study from the scriptures. Genesis 1:5.
You ready?
Let's go.
And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, day one.
And he says that over and over in Genesis. Evening and day. Those are all days.
And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. He would say it backwards if it was the other way, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Right out of the gate, it would say and it would say daylight and evening were the first day. It says right there, and evening and the morning were the first day. Okay, so I think that's clear. What do we got next?
All right, Leviticus 23.
Actually, hold on. Yeah,
Leviticus 23:32.
Okay, I'm almost there. Go ahead.
It says, "It is a Shabbat of rest to you, and you shall afflict your beings on the 9th day of the month at evening. From evening to evening you observe your Shabbat."
Okay, okay, let's decipher this verse right here. "It shall be unto you a Shabbat of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at evening. From evening unto evening shall ye celebrate your Shabbat." I think that's pretty clear right there. It says, am I reading this wrong? It says from evening unto evening. In the 9th day of the month at evening. So it's the 9th day right there. But this is all talking about a high Shabbat though, right?
It's talking about the Day of Atonement.
Day of Atonement. Day of Atonement, which the evening of the 9th.
Is this a high Shabbat? Uh-huh. Is this the last? Right.
So the evening of the 9th would be your beginning of the 10th day.
Right.
And he's saying that the 10th is your Day of Atonement. So from evening of the 9th, which begins the 10th, to the evening of the 10th, which is the 11th, that's your full day.
That's what it's looking like here. Okay, let's get some more scriptures on this.
Exodus 12:18.
All right. Exodus 12:18. All right. Let's make it rain there, Eli.
In the first month you are to eat bread made without yeast, from the evening of the 14th day until the evening of the 21st day.
Okay, what is this talking about here? What is the context of this?
The Feast of Unleavened Bread.
Feast of Unleavened Bread. And it says in my thing, I want to be very clear about this when we do this. So this is why I'm going slow. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, it says at even, ye shall eat your unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. So it's
from the 15th?
Yeah, it's even till even. We're talking 21st. Night to night. Okay, it's still night to night. I have not seen any daylight stuff here. Okay, what's our next thing?
We're doing Deuteronomy 16:6.
Deuteronomy 16:6. Okay.
Yep, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm starting verse 5 because you put a look, because it's a two-part verse. You are not allowed to slaughter the Pesach within any of your gates which Yahuwah your Elohim gives you, but at the place where Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell, there you slaughter the Pesach in the evening at the going down of the sun at the appointed time you came out of Mitzrayim.
Okay, so in there you shall sacrifice the Pesach at evening, right? So we're starting we're starting the day, right? When it hits evening, so we're starting Passover is that day. at the going down of the sun, at the season you came forth out of Mitzrayim. All right. Still, it looks like we're looking at even. All right. We have anything else?
Deuteronomy 23:11.
23:11.
Yep.
All right.
But as evening approaches, he is to wash himself, and at sunset he may return to the camp.
Okay, so this is interesting, right? Because when even comes, we know that we're unclean until we wash, and that's the new day begins, right? So we're unclean until we wash at night, and our basically our day begins, or else we would not be clean, right? Because the day would not be complete. Essentially, we would have to wash in the morning prior to the night because we'd still be dirty with that. Because if not, you would be still half dirty because you would be washing when it was still halfway part of your day. So I hope this is making sense to those out there. Let me read this again. But it shall be when evening comes on, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again. Is this somebody that murdered somebody or somebody that's unclean?
I think he's unclean. Sounds like he's unclean.
Yeah, so I mean they're unclean, obviously, but I don't know why. Okay,
It's just when someone's unclean.
right. Hey, this is tomorrow's
It's
chapter.
when you go forth against
I-
your enemies
Okay,
in the camp.
so they just killed somebody or something.
We give ourselves spoilers for tomorrow.
We did give ourselves spoilers. All right.
Sorry.
So okay, even. All right. What's the next? What do we got next?
Nehemiah 13:19.
Nehemiah. Let's see. Where's Nehemiah? That's over here. Nehemiah.
It's in with Ezra.
It's in with Ezra. That's right
Yeah, it's
here.
Ezra
So
too.
right here. Oh yeah. Duh. Nehemiah what?
13:19.
How could I miss that? Because they name it actually Ezra instead of Nehemiah in this thing. Okay, 19.
13:19.
All right, 13:19, and I actually have this labeled already. Okay,
Got the colors going on there.
who's reading it?
And it shall be, and it came to be, at the gates of Jerusalem, as it began to be dark before the Shabbat, that I commanded the gates to be shut and commanded that they should not be opened till after the Shabbat. And I stood some of my servants at the gates, so that no burdens would be brought in on the Shabbat day.
So this clearly says right here that, and this is Nehemiah, and Nehemiah is the dude that put hands on people, right?
Yeah, ripping their hair out.
Yeah, he ripped his beard out and his hair, I think, as well.
That was Ezra.
That was
Oh,
he,
Ezra?
he was ripping his hair out because they sinned, and then he was ripping
Poor guy.
their because they sinned.
Yeah. So let me read this again. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Shabbat. Okay, how would something, if it was still Shabbat, or if it wasn't Shabbat, it wouldn't be dark before Shabbat. Because when it went dark, you would still be the next day before Shabbat actually began, right? It wouldn't say right here, right? You guys see what I'm saying here?
So it's talking about shadows. too.
No, I understand that. I understand that what it's saying here, but this would be incorrect if a Shabbat was on the morning.
Right.
Because it says
why
right
would-
before Shabbat.
Why wouldn't he close the gates early in the morning?
And it says
before the sun rose, if that was.
And
when
it's
it was-
before it began to be dark. Began to be dark. So we're still at dusk, right?
Right
So
before the sun goes
yeah,
down, you still
when the
have
sun
shadows,
goes
you
down,
have-
Shabbat begins. And so I commanded that the gates should be shut, and that's on Shabbat, and charged that they should not be open till after Shabbat. And some of my servants set I at the gate that there should be no burden be brought in on the Shabbat. So this is from a nighttime to another nighttime is what Nehemiah is saying here. All right, what do we got next?
Next is Eli.
Luke 23:54.
Okay.
It was preparation day, and the Sabbath was about to begin.
Okay, and
right, that's
that day was the preparation, and the Shabbat drew on. Okay, it was about to begin. Your side drew on.
It was about to begin.
What does your guys say in yours?
And it was preparation day, and the Shabbat was approaching.
Okay, I just lost it.
So they wouldn't be preparing in the middle of the night. They would not be like, if the Shabbat was about to begin, they would not be preparing on in the middle of 4 a.m. or something. They wouldn't be getting there before the sun comes up preparing.
And he wouldn't have been hung on the stake like late at night, right?
Right, because we do know this was a daytime event.
Right.
Okay, and that day was on the preparation. The part that's kind of weird here on this one, and Shabbat drew on. I want to make sure we're very thorough on
I
this.
said the Shabbat was approaching.
Drew on is approaching. Okay, so that day was a preparation. That would tell us what day. It was Friday.
was Friday.
Sixth day.
And they're not, like I said, they're not going to be preparing at midnight. They're not going to be sitting there cooking their food at 4 a.m.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I guess if Shabbat started, how would you prepare your meals for breakfast? You would have to, it would be totally different. Like the day before, you prepare it for a sunrise. You would have to prepare all of your breakfast, lunch, and dinner all the way to the next day. You wouldn't be able to eat until sunrise came up, or you wouldn't be able to prepare your meal until the sun came up the following day.
It would be the same way you prep now. I mean, you do it
But it'd
the
be
whole day, but your day doesn't begin.
Well, we
like
do
you
it
could go all the way through the night until sunrise preparing.
Right, but who's going to go all through the night? You're going to be
Exactly.
sleeping, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if we have a preparation day, which is our 6th day, and our whole day is meant to dial into like a sundown, and it begins. Okay, so this is looking very much. I mean, you can't get away from this, and that the day was the preparation, and the Sabbath was near. Yeah. Okay. What's next?
I think it's Luke 24:1.
Yep.
All right, 24:1. Okay.
And on one of the Shabbat at early dawn, they came to the tomb bringing the spices which they had prepared.
Okay. Now, what does it say? Now on that one Shabbat. Very early in the morning, they came to the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared and certain others with them.
So I have to say, in another version that I read this, it says that they bought the spices prior to going to the tomb. So if they bought the spices prior going to the tomb, that means they would have bought on the Shabbat if the day started at
Okay, what's your Holy
sunrise.
Scripture say again, Jade? Read that.
And on one of the early Shabbat at early dawn, they came to the tomb bringing the spices which they had prepared.
Okay, it says right there, on a Shabbat, very early in the morning.
Right.
So we're talking, for us, what we would know as Shabbat would be
This is Shabbat.
Yeah, Shabbat. It's Shabbat. It's not Shabbat. It's Shabbat. It's one of the. It's plural for Shabbat.
Okay.
It's one of them.
So one of them. Okay, so we're talking. She went on a Shabbat. Is that what we're saying?
High Shabbat.
This is
I
not.
don't
This
think
doesn't
it's
say
high
high Shabbat. This is a Shabbat.
Yeah,
So
mine
Shabbat.
says Shabbat, which is with plural. It's one of the Shabbats.
Okay, so we're saying that she went early in the morning. I mean, that's for what we understand as a day begins, or not a day begins, but the day of the sun coming up, and that we have 12 hours left on that. What did your say,
So
Nicole?
mine says, but on the first day of the week, at early dawn, they went to the tomb taking the spices which they had made ready.
Okay, your says on the first day of the week. Mm-hmm. This one does your guys say first day of
Mine
the week?
says on one of the Shabbat.
Here, go into your thing in the back and see what Shabbat means.
Okay, so I mean, well, I mean, right here she could have there's this one verse right here. If it says that she's on the Shabbat,
She shouldn't. She would be breaking the Shabbat.
Okay, so
commands.
here's in the back of my Bible. It has like explanations of
Yeah,
the
what is
word.
that?
Shabbat is Sabbaths.
Sabbath, but it says on one of the Sabbaths.
Right.
And think about this though, because we are doing a feast. It was the feast of Pesach, also the feast of unleavened bread. So the first day of unleavened bread is a feast.
So,
And
do
this
we
was
know?
a
Do we
Shabbat.
know that she went to the tomb on Shabbat?
She went on a high Shabbat.
So we are talking about a high Shabbat here.
Yeah.
Because it says on one of the Sabbaths. It could have been any of them.
So any one of the Sabbaths, right? So but I
Yeah,
mean,
see,
this is
this
where it
is-
says very early in the morning,
this could have been like this could have been Pesach, or because Yehoshua died right before Passover, right?
right?
Right before evening approached. So this could be like the very next day, and they could go be visiting his
I
tomb.
mean, he died after, like
was 3 days.
during, right? After
Yeah, it was
Passover.
like right. I think it was like during the Passover. Like
I mean, he became the Passover lamb
right.
for
So
us.
I think it was like right before the evening he had died. Right before like Passover began.
So I'm stuck on this one here because this one verse you could possibly take something out of this, but it's the only verse that we have seen in this kind of a translation.
So I'm thinking it's here because Yehoshua died right before Passover, so he became the Passover lamb because it was right before
Right.
evening. And so this could be the morning of Passover.
the high Shabbat,
You're
Like
right.
the feast of unleavened bread.
right? And that
Like
would
if
make
it-
that would make sense.
This would be the feast of unleavened bread because it's the next day. After
Right.
this.
So I think that one, this is the only one so far that we have seen anything that you might be able to speculate. But then we have the other verses. It clearly says in Nehemiah that he shut the gates before Shabbat.
You're right.
And so, I mean, this is where we have to study ourselves approved unto Yah, workmen needeth not to be ashamed. All right, so Luke 24:1 is the only iffy verse that I have, and maybe somebody else out there who has a better translation can tell us what it is or the times on that. But so far, I'm still leaning towards sunset to sunset. Let's continue on. What else do we have?
Acts 27.
Acts 27. All right, so hold on. Acts 20. All right, and 7. Okay.
On the first day of the week, we came together to break bread. Paul spoke to the people, and because he intended to leave the next day, kept on talking until midnight.
Okay, so what do we have here? And upon the first Shabbat, when the Talmudian came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow, and continued his speech the night. So would Paul leave on a Shabbat? That was against. We're not supposed to travel. We're not supposed to go distances.
So this is
Little
the
Paul.
first day of the week that he's doing this. He's talking.
Yeah, so this would be second days, and leave on second days.
He says, and upon the first Shabbat, so this is when they were doing it, when the Talmudian came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow, and continued his speech until midnight.
So where yours says first Shabbat, it says on the first day of the week.
What do your guys say? Acts 27.
Acts 27, mine says, and on one of the Sabbaths.
So the same thing. Are we dealing with a high Shabbat?
We are, because it says in verse 6, but we sailed from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread.
Oh,
And
yeah.
in 5 days we joined them in Toros, where we remained for 7 days.
Right. Okay. So it is a like the first Shabbat, first high Shabbat, right? Because there's 2 high Shabbats. Okay. So that's what he's talking about right there. So yeah, and Paul would not upon the first Shabbat when the Talmudian came together to break bread. Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow, and continued his speech until midnight. Yeah, and if he was on a high Shabbat, he would not be traveling that day. He would wait until the next day to travel, right? And so I don't know if this proves anything, or what's the point of this verse?
I don't
He
really
kept his
see it.
message until midnight. So that means, like, to me, that he started in the evening and kept going until late.
Yeah, so he's basically leaving the next morning, but that doesn't say if he's leaving what day it is.
Yeah, it doesn't.
That
I'm
verse
not
is-
convinced on this verse. All right, what else we got?
We had Jubilees 49, 10 through 12.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Okay, do you have John 21?
And on one of the Shabbath, Miriam from Magdala came to the tomb in the morning, and when it was still dim, and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So this is like 3 days later. So this is like the actual Shabbat, I think.
Okay, now on a certain Shabbat came Miriam of Magdala early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and saw the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Okay,
So it was still dark.
early when it was yet dark.
So sunrise has not come
But it
up
says
yet.
it's still the first day. Right? I gotta go find it.
So on a certain Shabbat, does your guys say a certain Shabbat again?
Mine says on a Shabbat.
Shabbat.
It's on one of the Sabbaths.
One of the Sabbaths. So are we dealing yet with another high Shabbat?
I think it's the same one because this is just like Luke, where this is like she goes to visit Yehoshua's tomb.
Right.
So mine says, now on the first day of the week, Mary Magdala came to the tomb early while it was still dark, and saw that the stone had been removed from, lifted out of the groove of the entrance of the tomb.
Okay, so she's coming on a high Shabbat, but yours says first day, which would be a high Shabbat. Came Miriam of Magdala early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre. Okay,
But it's still saying it's the first day, so that day already began
yeah.
at sunset.
Yeah, the day begins at
It
sunset.
was still dark. Morning hadn't come around yet.
Okay, do we have anything else?
Jubilees 49.
10 through 12.
All right.
It says
Hold on, let me get there. Jubilee.
49.
Last one, I'm
Jubilees
gonna
49?
read.
10 through 12.
49, 10 through 12. Okay.
Alright, it says, let the children of Israel come and observe the Pesach on the day of its appointed time, on the 14th day of the first month between the evenings, from the third part of the day to the third part of the night. For 2 portions of the day are given to the light, and a third to the evening. This is that which Yahuwah commanded you, that you should observe it between the evenings. It is not permissible to slay it during any period of the light, but during the period bordering on the evening, and let them eat it at the time of the evening until the third part of the night. And whatever is left of all flesh from the third part of the night and onwards, let them burn it with fire.
Okay, so the Passover we know begins on a
At
certain time.
Evening, right.
Evening, right? The Passover begins at a certain time. And it says right here, let the children observe the feast of Pesach on the day of its fixed time, on the 14th day of the first month, between the evenings.
Right.
From the third part of the day to the third part of the night, for 2 portions of the day are given to the light, and a third part to the evening.
It's kind of like what Enoch was talking about, how we like lose the part of the time. So
This is that which Yahuwah commanded you, that you should observe it between the evenings. Okay. So again, we do have precedent here. I think Luke is possibly the only one that I am I'm not convinced yet. Do we have anything else?
I have one more.
Okay.
So Mark 1:21.
Okay.
And also 32. So they kind of go together because it's a big long story. But
Mark what?
Mark 1:21.
Okay.
And they entered into Capernaum, and immediately on the Sabbath he went into the synagogue and began to teach. Okay?
Okay.
So now you go down to 32 because he's talking about how he's teaching all these people. And then on 32, now when it was evening, after the sun had set, they brought to him all that who were sick and those under the power of demons.
Okay.
Okay. So,
I don't see a lot. I just see like even having healing people. It didn't say like if it was a new day or something like that.
but they did bring in because the Pharisees were all after him, right? Why are you healing on the Shabbat? Why are you doing all this kind of stuff? And so they brought him the people who were sick at the end. What was the first verse on this?
21:1 or 1:21. Sorry.
121. And they went into Capernaum, and straightway on the Shabbat he entered in the synagogue and taught. Okay, so they would not be traveling at night, right? Straightway on the Shabbat, or unless they travel all night long or something. I don't know.
Yehoshua might have.
Maybe he did. I don't know. He entered through synagogue, yeah. And so in the morning, let's see, where was the last one verse?
32.
32. And at evening, when the sun did set, they brought him all that were diseased and them that were possessed with devils. All right. So, does anyone have anything else on this?
Not really. I mean, it says evening between evenings. So
Evening to evening. So we have
And all throughout the Torah, it says that you're unclean until evening.
right.
Everywhere it says unclean until evening.
Okay, so let's take a look at that point. If we are unclean until evening, that means we would go an entire day of being unclean, right? Because we would, if day was really from sunset in the morning to sunset the next day, you would only be unclean half the day, right? The day, because you would be clean at evening, but that's not a new day, right?
I think you mean sunrise. You're confusing.
Am I confusing everything?
yeah, I didn't get that.
Did you get that? Do I say it?
No.
Okay, so if they said that they were unclean until even, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if your day begins at sunrise, and you say that's when your day begins, and your day ends at sunrise,
So you'd only be unclean.
you'd be unclean for 12 hours.
12 hours.
Right? That's what I'm trying to say. And
But
so,
if it's from even, if you're unclean until even, your evening started the day before, your day started at evening to evening, you're unclean for a full 24-hour period, even though 24 hours is not biblically written anywhere.
It's more like
Yeah.
18 hours.
It's from even to even.
okay, so as a group here for our own stuff, I guess I'm not Luke the one Luke chapter was the one that was a little sketchy to me. But we have to understand that we're dealing with high Shabbats, and we're dealing with two. They're basically 3 Shabbats in a one little tiny period, right? You
Right.
end up with a Shabbat, and then the next day,
Passover.
next day you end up with a high Shabbat,
High
and then
Shabbat.
7 days later you end up with a secondary high Shabbat.
And you also have maybe a regular Shabbat in between that.
Well, possibly, yeah, it could possibly be. I mean, you could deal with 3 or possibly 4.
So we go to Luke 4:40.
Absolutely, Luke 4:40. Okay. Now, when the sun was setting, all they that had any sick with diverse diseases brought them unto him, and he laid his hands on every one of them and healed them.
So mine says in parentheses, indicating the end of the Sabbath.
Because the sun was setting. Is that what they're saying?
Now, at the setting of the sun, indicating the end of the Sabbath, all those who had any sick with various diseases brought them to him.
Right, but the stuff in parentheses is
Right, it's just their
translators
extra, right.
Stuff. Okay, I am not convinced. You know, we had one demon guy that came against us and said when our cows were all dying, he said because we were keeping the Shabbat the wrong way, Yah was trying to get our attention. It seemed evil to me. It still seems evil to me what he said. But I'm trying to figure this out best as possible. And I have never seen a precedent for sunrise to sunrise.
And even though it says like daybreak or morning or dawn,
There's always daybreak.
that doesn't mean that's when your day starts.
Well, it means when humans' day starts, right? Because we can't see at night. Yah's day starts at night, and you have 12 hours of rest in between when your night is.
Well, and think about this, the Gregorian calendar, the new day starts at midnight.
Right.
So what's the, it's just...
Right, they spun everything around.
Exactly. So it's close to when it was Yah's time,
But
which is
the
at
thing-
sunset versus...
And the thing about sunset is it is a sign. It is a sign from all our stuff. Back in the days, we didn't have a digital clock or a clock on the wall or anything. How do you know the sun is setting? Well, the sun goes down. We see it. The lightness turns dark. how do we know the sun's coming up? Well, all of a sudden you can't see anything in the dark, and all of a sudden you can see stuff, and the sun comes up. So I don't believe. I believe that this is the same thing. Sunset to sunset is a beginning of a Hebrew day, and I think anyone out there, I'd appreciate any comments out there for the scribes of you who are on this channel, who I do know are out there. And Brenda, if you have other stuff you'd like to bring to this, let's get this stuff on the table. I don't see any reason we can't discuss this and come to a conclusion and try to figure this out once and for all. And I think once we have this dialed in, I think the last thing that people need to figure out is what day are we really on our Creator's calendar, and chase that back 6,000 years and figure out what the day of creation, which is what Nicole is going to be attempting to do.
I'm trying.
She's trying, and so we will see if she's able to make it through this, and that's what we're after. So that is what we believe, and I think we are good. Thank you guys very, very much for hanging out with us. I believe as a form, Kate, when does a new day start, in your personal opinion?
At evening.
At evening.
Like
Chase?
sunset, when the sun's going down.
2 witnesses. Nicole?
I say sunset.
Sunset to sunset. Eli?
Sunset.
All right. Well, I don't know if that says anything, but I mean, we are attempting to come to the bottom and conclusions of this. If anyone has anything different, please stick it in the comments. We would love to see it. We'd love to hear from you, and much love from everyone out there.
All right. Shalom.